My name is Margaret Hill. I'm 71 years old, and I've learned that silence can be the loudest kind of pain. It was a Tuesday morning when my daughter, Claire, told me she had found a place for me to stay. She spoke softly, her voice trembling a little, not from guilt, I think, but from the discomfort of pretending that this was the right thing to do. "Mum," she said, "you'll love it there. It's called Sunny Meadows. They have nurses' activities and a beautiful garden. You'll finally get to rest." Rest. That word stung more than she could ever know. I had spent my whole life raising her alone, working double shifts at the diner, skipping meals so she could have her school supplies, staying awake through her fevers, sitting in the rain during her soccer games. And now she wanted me to rest, away from her. I didn't argue. I just nodded and smiled, the way mothers do when their hearts are breaking, but their children can't see it. When we arrived at Sunny Meadows, the air smelled faintly of disinfectant and roses. The receptionist smiled too brightly. The walls were painted yellow, maybe to hide the grayness of the place. Claire helped me unpack my bag. "Mom, I'll visit every weekend," she said, kissing my cheek. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But deep inside, I felt something close. A chapter, maybe a life. When she left, I stood by the window and watched her car drive away. I kept watching even after it disappeared, because sometimes hope takes a little longer to leave than people do. Days passed, maybe weeks. It's hard to keep track of time when every day feels the same. Mornings began with pills and oatmeal. Afternoons were filled with crossword puzzles and the soft hum of televisions in other rooms. Nights were the worst. Too quiet, too long, too full of memories. Some residents had families who visited them. You could always tell by the flowers on their tables or the sound of laughter echoing down the hall. My table stayed empty. I told myself Claire must be busy. She was an attorney now, important, respected. I was proud of her, even if pride came with a side of loneliness. One afternoon, I overheard two nurses talking. That woman in room 23. One whispered, "Her daughter hasn't visited in months." They didn't know I could hear. They didn't know how much it hurt to be that woman. Then came Eleanor. She was 83, with silver curls and a laugh that could make you forget pain. She loved old jazz records and told stories about her husband who had passed away years ago. We'd sit in the garden every morning, feeding the sparrows. She'd say, "You know, Margaret, sometimes we get put away like old furniture, but furniture can still hold memories." I smiled at that, because she was right. Eleanor became my lifeline, my sister, my confessor. But one morning I came to breakfast and her chair was empty. The nurse said softly, "She passed in her sleep last night." I nodded quietly and went back to my room. That night I couldn't cry. I just stared at the ceiling and whispered, "Goodbye, my friend." After Eleanor's passing, something inside me shifted. I realized I might not have much time left. Not to fix things, but at least to be understood. So I began writing a letter to Claire. It wasn't angry. It wasn't even sad. It was just honest. Toi, my dear Claire, I know you think you did the right thing. Maybe you did. Maybe I became too much to handle, or maybe life just became too heavy for you. But I want you to know that I never needed comfort. I just needed company. When you were small, you used to say, "Mom, promise you'll never leave me." I never did. Even when you thought I was far, I was praying for you. If this letter ever finds you, don't feel guilty. Just remember that love is not about visits or gifts. It's about showing up. I loved you with every part of me, even the parts you forgot to see. Your mother, always Margaret. I sealed the letter and gave it to Nurse Helen, the only one I trusted. If something happens to me, I said, please send this to my daughter. She nodded, eyes soft with kindness. Winter came. The air grew colder, the halls quieter. Christmas lights blinked in the lobby, cheerful but hollow. I waited for Claire that month. Every car that pulled into the parking lot made my heart skip and then sink again. On Christmas Eve, the staff held a small party. Lotta tinsel paper hats. I smiled and clapped along, pretending I wasn't waiting for a knock on my door. That knock never came. That night, I sat by the window, watching snow fall over the streetlights. I whispered to the empty room, Merry Christmas, sweetheart. By March, my health began to fail. The nurses said it was just age, but I knew it was loneliness. It seeps into your bones, quiet and slow. One evening, I felt my chest tighten, the world blurred around me. As they rushed to my side, I thought of Claire. Her laugh, her graduation day, her first heartbreak. My last words were a whisper. Tell her I never blamed her. And then there was silence. Claire was cleaning her apartment when she got the call. She froze when the voice said, This is Nurse Helen from Sunny Meadows. I'm sorry, but your mother passed last spring. Claire dropped the phone. Her knees hit the floor as tears streamed down her face. She hadn't even known. Her last text to her mother was over a year old. Busy week. Mom, we'll visit soon. 2 days later, she drove to Sunny Meadows. The staff handed her a small box. Her mother's belongings. A rosary, a photograph, and a sealed envelope with her name on it. Her hands trembled as she opened it. And there she found Margaret's letter. As she read, her tears fell on the paper, blurring the ink. Toi, I never needed comfort. I just needed company. She cried until her body shook. Then she whispered, Mom, I'm so sorry. She spent hours in her mother's old room, touching the empty chair, the faded curtains. She whispered to the air, I thought you'd always be there. The nurse quietly placed a hand on her shoulder. She waited for you every day. Helen said softly. Claire sobbed harder. Weeks later, Claire visited the cemetery. The grass was still damp from morning dew. A small stone read, Margaret Hill, 1949 to 2020. As she loved without measure, Claire knelt down, placing a bouquet of white lilies. I should have come sooner, she whispered. You were my whole world, and I didn't even see it slipping away. The wind rustled through the trees, gentle, almost forgiving. She took out the letter again, reading it one last time, then folded it carefully and placed it beneath the flowers. I love you, Mom, she said, and I'll carry you with me every single day. Love isn't lost when someone dies. It's lost when we stop showing up while they're still alive. We spend our lives chasing success, comfort, and approval. But the greatest gift you can give is time, because one day someone will wait for your knock on the door, and if you don't show up, that silence will echo louder than any words ever could.